So how fast can I make a 105cc mini bike? I mean, I've did a couple 98cc builds on this channel, and I've got those bikes to around 50 miles an hour or so, and that's with removing the governor, internal, external governor. But I added a cam, a billet flywheel, I shaved 50 thousandths off the head, added a slide carb, a header pipe. So the 98cc runs pretty good, but I've never really tried one of these upright 105cc bikes. So instead of swapping out the engine on this bike, like I've done on so many others, I think I'm just gonna see how fast I can get this 105cc. So stock out of the box, this bike did 24.15, then I backed out the throttle screw and then it did 29.68, and then I zip tied the governor and we got 32.97. So that's not too bad. So to start out this build, I'm gonna remove the internal and external governor, and then I'm gonna install a PZ19 carb and intake setup and a header pipe. So check out this header pipe setup for that bike. So you have the main pipe that comes off the head. Then you have the muffler, baffle, looks like a giant trumpet exhaust that screws to the main pipe. Then of course you have your gaskets and clamps. Then you have the PZ19 carb kit. So the PZ19 carb comes with a bunch of jets, then your hardware, your intake manifold, throttle cable, a breather filter, and then an air filter. Remove this stock muffler. Man, look at that giant port. Yeah, look at that giant port. That thing is huge. Loosen these studs the easy way. Remove this chain guard so I can get this clutch off of here. Move this engine back so I can pull the clutch. This has got a tensioner nut under here to move the engine forward or back. Pull the side cover to do a quick oil change. See if we can knock this off here without popping the cam out. Okay, so there we go. Pop that off there. So I'm going to pop off this tab first. Then the washer. So I got the tab, the washer, and I got to get that little clip out of there. There it is. Pop that off of there. Get that washer out of here. And there we go. Then I'll take off all this governor arm stuff. Pull off this clip. So now, to get this little governor arm off of here, I'm gonna have to grind the edge of this off. There we go. So now I gotta plug this governor hole, and I think I can use a 1/4 inch bolt. Let me see. So I have my 1/4 by 28 bolt with a little sealer on here. And I think this will self-tap down in here. So now I'll pull the rest of this linkage off of here. And it looks a lot cleaner. So I throw the side cover back on here. So check out this sweet cam. It even has nylon cam lobes. So this thing is totally high performance. Throw the clutch back on here. So now I'll pull this carburetor off here. Probably should drain the fuel out of here, make things easier. 8mm. Pull this carb off. All right. Bolt this intake to the carburetor. You know what I might end up having to do is swap out that gas tank, because I'm not sure if the carburetor will clear that gas tank. I mean, I could always put a dent in it right there. So I went ahead and removed the gas tank anyway, because it's really hard to get the slide out of there with that carb where it's mounted, and then the fuel line comes out in a really weird spot. So it's a lot easier just to throw a different tank on the bike. So I think I have the perfect tank for this bike. Yeah, it definitely looks a lot better without the tank on there. So it definitely looks a lot cleaner on there without the gas tank, and then without all that linkage. So it cleans it up nice. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna run one of the center tanks under here. So this kit came with a cable, but I think I'll just use the cable on the bike and then solder me a tip on here. So this kit came with a throttle cable, and it already has a tip on the end for the slide, but I think I'll just go ahead and use a cable that's on the bike and cut it and then solder a tip. So I have the adjustment up here in the middle, so I can adjust it either way. So in case it's a little too short or a little too long, I have adjustment on there. I think about right there work. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Throw some flux on here, get it nice and clean. So the tip sticks really well. You don't want that thing falling off in the engine. Gotta get a lot of heat on this. As much heat as possible. So I let that thing sit on there. Get a lot of heat on there. So we get a good, nice adhesion. Perfect. All right, I'll try that in there. See if that slide works. Throw my spring on here, and then my slide. And we'll see if that works. All right, let's see if that's long enough. All right, that'll work. So while I'm waiting for the gas tank to get here, I think I'm gonna add this sweet exhaust. It's kind of a trip how it bolts together right there. But anyway, so this exhaust probably, most likely will add, I don't know, 15 or 20 miles an hour at least. This thing's gonna be a rocket. So it uses really small 8mm bolts. So that actually looks pretty cool on there. It'll be interesting to see how it sounds with that big chamber. That big old trumpet. But it looks pretty sweet. I have to move my throttle cable. Zip tied up here so it's not touching it, but yeah, it looks pretty cool. I mean, I guess I could come up with a mount. I mean, they give you a clamp to go around it. So I guess I'd have to come up with a mount or something off the seat here. Yeah, it's kind of cool how it comes down the middle right there. But anyway, so they give you this clamp, and then I guess I can come from here to the bracket here. Yeah, so that carburetor and then the header pipe, man, it gets a lot more, you got a lot more room in there now. So I made up this bracket. It bolts on here like that. And then all I have to do is move the clamp back and then drill a hole through here. All right, so there it is, bolted on there. Put a button bolt on top because the seat sets up here. But anyway, so that thing is nice and tight now. So that'll work. So the gas tank came in for this bike, so check it out. So you get the top plate. Looks like it comes with a bunch of fuel line, the cap, and then your clamps, fuel shut off. This thing's packaged pretty well. Yeah, I got this thing wrapped up pretty good. Well, that thing is pretty sweet. That thing's pretty nice. I like these TIG welds on here. This one's actually a little bit more finished than the last one I got. Looks a lot nicer. So this thing's pretty cool. So it actually comes with 4 pads. You get your plate. It comes with a couple vent tubes. It comes with a nice fuel filter. Of course, your hardware, and your gas cap, and then your shutoff valve, and then fuel line. So this thing is a pretty good kit, pretty nice kit. And it was about 50 bucks cheaper than the last one I bought. And I was just noticing, not only the fit and finish is better, but the cap is a lot nicer on this one. So here's the old one I bought. This one's got more of like a pipe fitting on it, and the finish is definitely not as shiny on this one. This one here has got a lot better finish on it, and it has a lot nicer neck. So this thing looks pretty sweet on here, but the only thing is I had to unbolt the entire engine and my exhaust to get this on here. But that's okay. So this tank fits pretty nice on here. You have plenty of room between the engine and the tank there. So I got the fuel line all hooked up. So I'll go ahead and see if this thing fires up, and then I'll take it out and do a top speed run. And I think I have to be, around 32 miles an hour. And then I'll see how it runs with the stock jetting in the PZ19. And then if it doesn't run right, at least I have the main jets that came in the package, so I can rejet this thing. Got a nice deep tone to it. By a couple miles per hour so far. Man, things sound pretty good. Jetting seems pretty good. I mean, it doesn't hesitate or anything. See if anything's falling off. Man, so far so good. This thing runs really good straight out of the box. The carburetor, I mean, it's jetted pretty close. What I can get going down the hill. I mean, that's pretty good for a stock cam and stuff. Ship did around 37.5 miles per hour. So it gained about 5 miles per hour with all the mods. And it looks a lot better too. So what should I do to this next? But I'm not sure if I can find a cam for this thing. So I'm not sure if anybody makes a cam for this. But if they do, I'll try to find it. And if not, maybe I can port the head and add some valve springs. But I don't want to add too much valve spring because the cam lobes are also nylon. So you can only use a little bit of spring pressure on here. So we'll see if I can find some parts.